Hi, I'm Isaiah Long with the Tennessee Golf Association, and today I will be walking you through the 2023 major changes within the rules of golf and some rules that you'll see quite often while officiating or coaching TSAA events in the fall. The major changes within the 2023 rules of golf really started to focus within penalty application changes, equipment, scorecards, specifically stroke play, playing the ball, advice and help, meaning of agree in 3.2D4, and rules 21 through 25, which I'll cover here in just 1 minute. The first major change that we're going to address is the penalty application changes. Rule 1.3C4 states applying penalties to multiple breaches of the rules. First, we have single penalty applied for multiple breaches between intervening events, and then we have multiple penalties applied for breaches before and after intervening events. The two intervening events: the completion of a stroke or being aware or becoming aware of a breach. And a clarification to help you out there states whether a player gets multiple penalties for breaching multiple rules or the same rule multiple times depends on whether there has been an intervening event on what the player did. For the purpose of applying this rule, there are two intervening events. Like I said, the completion of a stroke and being aware or becoming aware of a breach of a rule. This includes when a player knows they breached a rule, or when the player is told of a breach, or when the player is uncertain whether or not they have breached a rule. So that means becoming aware includes if the player has doubt or whether they have breached a rule or not. As usual, we do have an exception for this new rule change. The exception is failure to replace a moved ball. There's no change to that rule. And if a player fails to replace the moved ball, they only get the general penalty, which is 2 strokes. This states that any penalty strokes for taking penalty relief always are applied. That did not change and will not change. Which, to help clarify that means penalties for relief, which include penalty area, unplayable, etc., never go away or get discontinued with other breaches. So an example would be in stroke play. If a player takes penalty relief and plays from a wrong place, the player gets 3 penalty strokes. 1 plus 2 equals 3, just as it always has been. The substitution penalty has changed. The penalty from playing an incorrectly substituted ball has been reduced from the general penalty of 2 strokes to now being 1 stroke. So now if you want to add in that putting ball, there is just a 1 stroke penalty for making a stroke at an incorrectly substituted ball. We have club damage during a round or stoppage. The definition of damage is any part, feature, or property of a club is changed or changes because of an act. It states right here that the rule has been amended to allow a player to replace a damaged club provided the club has not been damaged through abuse. So there's no change when a club is treated as conforming for a remainder of a round, or there's also no change when you continue to make strokes with a club regardless of how much damage is caused. So the only exception is in cases of abuse by the player. Repair or replace the club with another club. You also have Model Local Rule G9, which allows replacement only when the club is broken or significantly damaged, that you can add in there. External attachments are non-permissible external attachments, such as a sticker on the club face, can be removed without penalty from the club, but it must be before it is used to make a stroke. Next up is building a club. When replacing or adding a club, a player cannot build a club from parts being carried by or for the player or any other player who is playing on the course. This means that they can't have them in the bag. It can be out in their car, but it cannot be in the bag. Also with scorecards, there is the marker certification that has changed. It states that no requirement for multiple markers to certify if the one marker sees the player play all the holes. But under Model Local Rule L1, the general penalty will be placed for missing player and or marker certification applied to the player's final hole. Next up, we have major changes of playing the ball. The categories are referee worsens the player's conditions, ball at rest moved by natural forces, cleaning the ball, back on line relief, ball played from putting green deflected, reporting to the committee a serious breach of wrong place, embedded ball relief, and time allowed to identify the ball. With this major change of playing the ball, we are going to discuss a referee worsening a player's condition. So the definition of that is any condition affecting the stroke is worsened by a referee may be restored. So the player has authority to restore that condition that the referee worsened. Next up, we have a ball at rest moved by natural forces. It states it must be replaced if after being dropped, placed, or replaced and comes to rest in a different area of the course or out of bounds. As our friend said over at the USGA, Jay stated that there's 5 areas of the course. You have the general area, which covers the entire course except for the 4 specific areas described in Rule 2.2b. You have the teeing area, bunkers, penalty areas, and the putting green. Everything else is considered the general area. Next, we have a 1-stroke penalty for cleaning a ball that is not lifted.
The rules of golf are changing in 2023. The back on the line relief procedure has been simplified, and here's what it looks like. So to use a penalty area as an example, I'm going to keep the point where the ball last crossed between the hole and where I want to drop it. I can go back as far as I want on the line, but I have to drop it on the line because that's what activates this relief option. If I don't drop it on the line, I'll be dropping in a wrong way. The relief area won't be created, and I'll have to correct my mistake by dropping it again, but in the right way on the line. But once dropped on the line, the ball can roll up to 1 club length in any direction, even if it rolls forward and closer to the hole. Back on the line is a great relief option for penalty areas, but you can also use it when you decide that your ball is unplayable.
Since Jay is a lot better at explaining things than I am, I'll let him show you guys the back on the line relief. So now we're going to move to a ball played from a putting green is deflected. You must always replay the stroke if a ball hits a person, movable obstruction, or animal. In this situation, it differs a little bit because the stroke will count and the ball is played where it lies. If the ball comes back and hits the player or the club that was used to make the stroke. The stroke will also count, and the ball will be played as it lies if it hits an animal defined as a loose impediment. Next up is reporting to the committee serious breach of wrong place. You must report to the committee only when a player has made 2 scores or played 2 balls. When finding a relief area for an embedded ball, the spot right behind where the ball is embedded must be in the general area. An embedded ball is when a player's ball is in its own pitch mark, made as a result of the player's previous stroke and where part of the ball is below the level of the ground. A ball does not necessarily have to touch soil to be embedded. For example, grass or loose impediments may be between the ball and the soil. Relief is allowed when the ball is embedded in the general area. Relief is allowed under Rule 16.3b only when a player's ball is embedded in the general area. But if the ball is embedded on the putting green, the player may mark the spot of the ball and lift and clean the ball, repair the damage caused by the ball's impact, and replace the ball on its original spot. Exceptions when relief is not allowed for an embedded ball in the general area. There is no relief under 16.3b when the ball is embedded in sand in a part of the general area that is not cut to fairway height or less. There is also not relief allowed for an embedded ball in the general area when playing the ball as it lies is clearly unreasonable because of something from which the player is not allowed to take relief from in the first place, such as when a player is unable to make a stroke because of where the ball lies in a bush or a tree. A player's ball is embedded only if it is in its own pitch mark made as a result of the player's previous stroke and part of the ball is below the level of the ground. Determining whether a ball is embedded. If the player cannot tell for sure whether the ball is in its own pitch mark or a pitch mark made by another ball, the player may treat the ball as embedded. If it is reasonable to conclude from the available information that the ball is in its own pitch mark. Determining whether a ball is embedded. A ball is not embedded if it is below the level of the ground as a result of anything other than the player's previous stroke, such as when the ball is pushed into the ground by someone stepping on it, the ball is driven straight down into the ground without becoming airborne, or the ball was dropped in taking relief under a rule. When a player is allowed to take relief from a ball embedded in the general area, there are situations where the spot immediately behind where the ball is embedded is not in the general area. When this occurs, the relief procedure requires the player to find the nearest spot in the general area that is not near the hole to the spot immediately behind where the ball embedded, and this spot becomes the new reference point for establishing relief under Rule 16.3b. While this spot is normally very close to the spot behind where the ball is embedded, it could also be some distance away as well, such as when a ball embeds just outside a penalty area, and based on the shape of the penalty area, the player will need to go some distance to the right or left or backwards in order to find a spot in the general area that is not near to the hole. This procedure also applies when a ball embeds in the wall or face right above a bunker. Now it's time to identify the ball. The most amount of time a player should be given when a ball is found near the end of a search time is 1 minute. So, if they find it right at the edge of that 3-minute marker, they have 1 minute to walk over and identify and make sure that it's their ball or if it's not. Now let's move to advice and help. Help with line of play. You cannot set down an object to get help with the line of play anywhere on the course, such as the water bottle that's lining up on a Palmer in the picture. As you see in the picture above, setting an object down to help with aiming or taking stance is still illegal as well. And as you can see in this photo as well, drawing it in the dew is also treated the same as setting down an object. The advice giver. Rule 10.2b4 applies to the advice giver just as it applies to the caddy as well. Now let's discuss abnormal course conditions. Any of these 4 defined conditions are considered an abnormal course condition. First off is an animal hole, ground under repair, a movable obstruction, or temporary water. Now let's discuss the nearest point of complete relief. The reference point for taking free relief from an abnormal course condition, or Rule 16.1, dangerous animal condition, wrong green, or a non-play zone or a no-play zone, or in taking relief under certain local rules. There are 32 dropping relief procedures in the rules. 7 use nearest point of complete relief as their reference point, and 6 procedures in the 5 model local rules also use the nearest point of complete relief. The nearest point of complete relief is the estimated point where the ball would lie that is nearest to the ball's original spot but not nearer to the hole than the original spot and is also in the required area of the course. The rule also goes on to state where there is no interference under the rule being used from the condition from which relief is being taken, for the stroke the player would have made from the original spot if the condition were not there. Estimating this reference point requires the player to identify the choice of club, stance, swing, and line of play that they would have used for the stroke. The player does not need to simulate that stroke by taking an actual stance and swinging with the chosen club, but it is recommended that the player normally do this to help in making an accurate estimate. Meaning of interference by abnormal course conditions. Interference exists when any one of these is true. The player's ball touches or is in or on an abnormal course condition. An abnormal course condition physically interferes with the player's area of intended stance or an area of intended swing. If the abnormal course conditions is close enough to distract the player but does not meet any of the requirements stated above, there is no interference under this rule. Relief for ball in general area. Reference point. The nearest point of complete relief in the general area. Size of relief area measured from reference point. 1 club length but with the limits stated below. Limits on the location of relief area. Must be in the general area, must not be nearer the hole than the reference point, and there must be complete relief from all interference by the abnormal course condition. Relief for ball in a bunker. Free relief playing from a bunker. The player may take free relief under 16.1b except that the nearest point of complete relief and the relief area must be in the bunker. If there is no such nearest point of complete relief in the bunker, the player may still take this relief by using the point of maximum available relief in the bunker as the reference point. Relief for a ball in the bunker. Penalty relief. Playing from outside the bunker, back on the line relief. For 1 penalty stroke, the player may drop the original ball or another ball outside the bunker, keeping the spot of the original ball between the hole and the spot where the ball is dropped, with no limit on how far back the ball may be dropped. Taking back on the line relief from a ball in the bunker comes with these limits. Must not be nearer to the hole than the original spot of the ball and may be in the area of the course except the same bunker, but must be in the same area of the course that the ball first touched when dropped. Now let's discuss what the definition of a penalty area is. A penalty area is an area from which relief with a 1-stroke penalty is allowed if the player's ball comes to rest there. A penalty area is any body of water on the course, whether or not marked by the committee, including a sea, pond, ditch, lake, river, surface drainage ditch, or other open water course, even if not containing water, and any other part of the course the committee defines as a penalty area. There are 2 different types of penalty areas distinguished by the color used to mark them. First, we have a yellow penalty area, marked with yellow lines or yellow stakes that give the player 2 relief options. The second is the red penalty area, marked with red lines or red stakes that give the player an extra lateral relief option in addition to the 2 relief options that are available for yellow penalty areas as well. The edge of a penalty area extends both up and above the ground and down below the ground. This means that all ground and anything else, such as any natural or artificial objects inside the edge, is part of the penalty area, whether on, above, or below the surface of the ground.
If an object is both inside and outside the edge, such as a bridge over the penalty area or a tree rooted inside the edge with branches extending outside the edge or vice versa, only the part of the object that is inside the edge is part of the penalty area. Relief for a ball in the penalty area. Stroke and distance relief. The player may play the original ball or another ball from where the previous stroke was made. The second option that a player has for a ball in the penalty area is a back on the line relief. The player may drop the original ball or another ball outside the penalty area. When using back on the line relief, the player may spot the ball on the line where the ball first touches the ground when dropped. This creates a relief area that is one club length in any direction from that point for the ball to roll toward. Back on the line relief comes with limits on relief area. The first one states that it must not be nearer to the hole than the estimated point than where the original ball lies across the edge of the penalty area. The second one states that it may not be in any area of the course except the same penalty area, but must be in the same area of the course that the ball first touched when dropped. Now let's touch on our third and last relief for a ball in the penalty area. This relief option is only available with red penalty areas. It states that when the ball lies across the edge of the red penalty area, the player may drop the original ball or another ball in this lateral relief area. The lateral relief, only for the red penalty area, has a reference point. The reference point is the estimated point where the original ball lies across the edge of the red penalty area. Just as there has been with any of our relief options, there's limits to this relief area as well. The first one states that it must not be nearer to the hole than the reference point and may be in any area of the course except the same penalty area. But if more than one area of the course is located within 2 club lengths of that reference point, the ball must come to rest in the relief area in the same area of the course that the ball first touched when dropped in the relief area. Let's discuss no relief under other rules for a ball in a penalty area. When a player's ball is in a penalty area, there is no relief for interference by an abnormal course condition, an embedded ball, or an unplayable ball. The player's only relief option is to take penalty relief under Rule 17. Relief under penalty of stroke and distance is allowed at any time. At any time, a player may take stroke and distance relief by adding one penalty stroke and playing the original ball or another ball from where the previous stroke was just made. Once a player puts another ball in play under penalty of stroke and distance, the original ball is no longer in play and must not be played. This is true even if the original ball is then found on the course before the end of the 3-minute search time. But this does not apply to a ball to be played from where the previous stroke was made when the player announces that they are playing a provisional ball. A ball is determined lost if not found in 3 minutes after the player or caddy begins the search for it. If a ball is found in the 3-minute time frame, but it is uncertain whether it is the player's ball, the player must promptly attempt to identify the ball and is allowed a reasonable amount of time to do so, even if that happens after the 3-minute search time has ended. Understanding the meaning of reasonable time to do so when identifying a ball. When a ball is found close to the end of a 3-minute search time, it is reasonable to allow the player up to 1 minute to identify the ball. For example, a player finds a ball in a tree 2 minutes and 30 seconds after the search began, but it is not immediately able to identify it as theirs. In this case, it is reasonable to allow the player 1 minute to try to identify the ball, meaning if the player is able to identify the ball within 3 minutes and 30 seconds after the search began, the ball is not lost. When a ball is out of bounds. A ball at rest is out of bounds only when all of it is outside the boundary edge of the course. A ball is in bounds when any part of the ball lies or touches the ground or anything else, such as any natural or artificial object inside the boundary edge of the course. A ball is also in bounds when it is above the boundary edge or any other part of the course. A player is able or may stand out of bounds in order to play a ball that is on the course. A provisional ball is another ball played in case the ball just played by the player may be out of bounds or lost outside of a penalty area. A provisional ball is not the player's ball in play unless it becomes the ball in play under Rule 18.3c. A provisional ball is allowed if a ball might be lost outside of a penalty area or might be out of bounds. In order to save time, the player may play another ball provisionally under penalty of stroke and distance. If a player makes a stroke from where the previous stroke was made with the intent of playing a provisional ball, but a provisional ball was not allowed, the ball played is the player's ball in play under penalty of stroke and distance. If a provisional ball itself might be lost outside of a penalty area or be out of bounds, the player may play another provisional ball. That provisional ball will be considered ball 3. Then it has the same relationship to the first provisional ball, ball 2, as the first one, ball 2, has to the original ball, ball 1. Before the stroke is made, the player must announce to someone that they are going to play a provisional ball. It is not enough for the player only to say that they are going to play another ball or playing again. The player must use the word provisional or otherwise clearly indicate that they are playing the ball provisionally under Rule 18.3. But if there is no one nearby to hear the player's announcement, the player may play the provisional ball and then inform someone of their actions when possible to do so. When a provisional ball becomes a ball in play. When a original ball is lost anywhere on the course except in the penalty area, the original ball is no longer in play even if it is then found on the course after the end of a 3-minute search time, and now is a wrong ball that must not be played. When a provisional ball is played from a spot nearer to the hole than where the original ball is estimated to be, the original ball is no longer in play, even if it is then found on the course before the end of a 3-minute search time, or is found nearer to the hole than it had been previously estimated to be, and is now a wrong ball that must not be played. Rule 19 covers the player's several relief options for an unplayable ball. This allows the player to choose which option to use, normally with one penalty stroke, to get out of a difficult situation anywhere on the course except for in a penalty area. A player may take unplayable ball relief when using one of the 3 relief options in Rule 19.2a, b, or c, in each case adding 1 penalty stroke. These relief options consist of stroke and distance relief, lateral relief, and back on the line relief. The player may take stroke and distance relief under Rule 19.2a even if the original ball has not been found and identified. But to take back on the line relief under Rule 19.2b or lateral relief under Rule 19.2c, the player must know the spot of the original ball. Lateral relief. The player may drop the original ball or another ball in this lateral relief area. Reference point, the spot of the original ball. But when the ball lies above the ground, such as in a tree, the reference point is the spot directly below the ball on the ground. When a player's ball is in a bunker, the player may take an unplayable ball relief for 1 penalty stroke under any of the options in Rule 19.2a, b, or c. Except that the ball must be dropped in and come to rest in the bunker if the player takes either back on the line relief or lateral relief. There is now an extra relief option for an unplayable ball in a bunker. As an extra relief option, when a player's ball is in a bunker, for a total of 2 penalty strokes, the player may take back on the line relief outside the bunker under Rule 19.2b.